Boom. According to that, I am live. Welcome. This is Tokyo Tonight. My name is Hiko Simon. It's great to see you all. Yeah, a lot to talk about this week. It has been crazy. Last week we were talking about how the next definitely going to be Prime Minister. Nothing's going to happen. Sanai Takaichi is going to be Prime Minister. That is supposed to happen this Wednesday, is when Parliament's having the vote. Well, it's kind of gone to hell. It might not actually happen now. So we're going to talk about that and all the other news going on in Japan this week. But first of all, of course, the most important thing, checking in, seeing who's here. We've got Aaron, made it in first. Thank you for reminding me to set this up, Aaron. I was enjoying, my son was not able to, he was playing a Fortnite tournament and apparently didn't even do very well at it. But the result was that we didn't go out to dinner tonight. It is a public holiday in Japan tomorrow. It is sports day, the day that a lot of schools have their sports days, although some of them did it last week. So as a result, I can stay up late tonight. And if the restaurant that I take my son to is open, I'll take him there tomorrow night. But yeah, the result is I enjoyed having a relatively relaxed pre-show, and I've got so much music that I've been buying lately and never playing, never actually mixing. So I just recorded a mix, had the inevitable technical issues, including at one point when I raised the desk because I thought this is going so well, I want to get up and dance while I mix. But then I pulled out the power cord by the desk going up, so everything died. In spite of that, it's nearly 2 hours long mix, and it was pretty good. So you can go back and listen to that. If you want the MP3, I'm going to edit it up so it doesn't have all of the long power outages and whatnot that are part of the show. So, but yeah, that was a cool thing. Big congrats to DJ Sunny Side Up, by the way, who won, I think, like 4 weeks in a row now, the MASH battle. So yeah, I better get practicing at this stuff some more. He's really like, yeah, he's raised his game. It's all in beat, it's in sync. He's making great track choices. You're killing it, Sonny. I won a whole bunch in a row and you just got better. So awesome on that. Thank you to Aaron, who came in during the DJ pre-show live stream and reminded me that I hadn't actually set this up. An important part of the show is making sure that it is actually set up and present and exists. So Aaron, you did that. Thank you very much. I do appreciate it. Yeah, we got second to Aaron is Cobra Tenchi. Good to have you in here as always. We've got Jane Motts listening to in the background while you do chores. Also, thank you, Jane. I enjoyed your company during the mix. You found it right away, and I'm glad that you appreciate the music. You have good taste. Well, at least similar taste to mine, which I do appreciate, and appreciated the company. It was a good mix. I really enjoyed it, and I appreciate you showing up every week and voting every week in the MASH battle. Love to see everyone doing that. We got Icy on YouTube. Hi from BIY. I'm not sure I recognize, but good to see you, Icy, and welcome. Where is BIY? Somebody figure this out for me. I feel like, where is BIY? I don't know. Someone, is that like an airport code or a city code or something like that? I can't think of what a BIY would be. I'm intrigued. I see. Please definitely tell me. And welcome. Great to have you in the mix. We got Black Tingu in from Greece, October. German Oktoberfest here in Athens. I didn't know that Athens did German Oktoberfest, but well, it's pretty cool. So yes, indeed. Good to have you. And Eric Bailey, thank you. Thank you for coming and allowing us to start the show. I made sure I didn't start until I saw you posting 4 minutes before, on time as usual. Great to see. We've got Lara Muzio in here. Great to see. And the music was good. Glad that you could make it. As with everybody else, great to see you again. Also great to see Believe in Yourself. Welcome, IC. I don't know, do you guys know each other? It's great to see you anyway. And great to see you again, as per every week. And also thank you for joining me in the pre-live stream. We've got Tadom in here. Great to see you, Tadom. Thank you also for voting on the MASH battles. Really great to see people showing up in there and voting, and do appreciate it. We put a lot of work into it. So yeah, it's always good to see. Even if it was DJ Sunny Side Up this week, that was just, got to lift my game. What can I say? Quint Rankin, good to see you. Sorry, I didn't get back to your comment during the week. I just had a crazy week, but I do appreciate you leaving the comment on the video, and always telling me when you think that I'm wrong. I like that. I do like that. I really appreciate you speaking up. So continue to do that. I'm pretty sure there will be things to be said today. You know, one thing I don't have in the I went out for a really wonderful dinner party last night. Rochelle Kopp invited me out for dinner. And the other people, I didn't know who else was going to show up. I'm like, I don't know what this is going to be. But it turned out it was a bunch of interesting people, including an old person, a co-worker that I used to work with, Brian McNeil and his wife. It was really, really cool. And yeah, I have this thing where I do kind of identify who's in the room, and my brain just goes to how do I have an intelligent argument with these people? Uh, and it was a fairly left-wing liberal room. And I felt like I went straight up to probably a lovely and good-natured and liberal-minded American, and I sort of said, hey, I wouldn't normally say this, but I think just the last 48 hours, you have to give Trump some credit. I mean, it's kind of shocking to me too, but it was kind of fun to go up to someone and say, hey, you have to admit Trump did a good job this time. Or at least, I mean, clearly he dragged the Middle East thing through to the result that he got. And I think actually probably it's Jared Kushner. It's probably not so much Trump as his daughter who has the good taste. What he did setting up the diplomatic relations with Qatar and UAE and so on in Israel was a huge thing. And it looks like he really pushed this one over the line as well of hopefully ending the war in Gaza, but we'll see. So, yeah, that's fine. I'll totally take conservative positions when they're right. Or at least when I think that they're right. So, and I'm always happy to be challenged. I enjoy that. So thank you. Waito-san, great to see you in the pre-show also, and great to see you as always. Are you still down in Kyushu? Anyway, great to see you. You're down in Kyushu, right? I'm not misremembering that. But yeah, great to see you. Hey, Eddie, great to see you. Hey, Eddie. Hey, Eddie, great to see you. PM drama. Yeah, we're going to get into that in just a moment. Let's see who else is in here. We got Odie Jr., Wood, bada bing, bada boom. Yes, we are all here. Who else made it? We got Black Tengu. Everybody saying yo to each other. We got yos. We got smiles. We got believe. We got believe in yourself. We got the believers. And the Middle East thing ain't over yet. Wait for it. Yeah, well, yes. But seriously, I was actually thinking, geez, maybe, I mean, okay, another concession I'll make to conservatives. Barack Obama getting the Nobel Peace Prize was a joke. And I remember when he was informed by some journalists that you've just won the Nobel Peace Prize, and even he was confused by it. I mean, you talk about, right now, everybody's upset. Frankly, I think rightly that America is now blowing up drug smuggling boats in the Caribbean. Obama was flying around drones, pretty much, killing anyone who moved, anyone who was farming sheep, which as a New Zealander worries me. More people died in drone strikes, under Obama. he wasn't a peaceful man, and he got the Nobel Peace Prize, and I don't think even he knew what for. And Trump, I mean, I don't like him, but geez, I you got to give him credit. And certainly, if he is able to do something, at least in terms of getting the Israeli hostages released and even a ceasefire, I think he deserves some credit. That and the other 18 peace treaties he's taking credit for. But anyway, it's interesting times. Jared earning those billions. Well, someone's got to do it. I mean, just being born, it's not always enough. I don't know. I always I actually enjoy challenging myself, and I think you've got to recognize when people do good. But we'll see. The fact that I do find it kind of funny the way that Trump and the White House acted so unpeacefully towards not getting the Peace Prize. I mean, you think about it. The Peace Prize recipient, it's almost like they're proving that they. I suppose it's not a reflection of your personality per se. But it's almost like he was willing to fight and die and kill in order to get the Nobel Peace Prize, which says that you probably shouldn't be running for it. I don't know how that works anyway, but yes, I think you're absolutely. The fact that they're so furious over it is kind of funny. And when Vladimir Putin comes out after and says, "Yeah, man, you totally should have got it," and Trump tweeted back and said, "Yeah, thank you." Oh God, please don't ruin it. But when Putin's saying, "Oh, yeah, you should have won the Peace Prize," it doesn't look good. But there we go. At least Obama had the grace to be embarrassed. He really was. He really was embarrassed by it. It was and seriously, the sheep farmers, even the ones, I mean, all over the world. Yes, they definitely deserve to be left alone. Sadiq, we got Sadiq. Sadiq saying hello to Lara. He's saying hello to me, I think. Good to see you, Sadiq, as always. And Shubhas made it. Well, man from Panama. Wow, we're all checked in. So I'm going to dive. So what the hell happened this week? So last week, you remember, it was a routine. It was the dance that happens sometimes 2 or 3 times a year, sometimes once every couple of years. We've had a couple of relatively long-lasting prime ministers lately. People saying how Ishiba only lasted a year. A year is a pretty long time in Japanese LDP politics because there's always some sort of horrible corruption scandal or some kind of thing where, they've got, and they know it's like musical chairs, except the last person, isn't left standing up unable to sit on a chair. The last person has to fall on their sword is pretty much the way that Japanese politics works. So this is just another election which, Takaichi had run for multiple times before. And this time, the pendulum swang that way towards Ishiba. Last time saying he would punish all the corrupt people. And, Takaichi hoping to get votes from all the corrupt people say, hey, I'm going to let them all off scot-free. And this time, the pendulum swung back because everybody doesn't like Ishiba. He doesn't really have any friends. And it looked like, and frankly, while people were saying, well, Kometo's not going to like that, Komeito has been in a coalition with the LDP for 26 years. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, I believe that they have seen Yoshiro Mori, they've seen 2 Taro Aso administrations, they've seen so much corruption, so much sort of betrayal of their principles. We'll talk a little bit about what Komeito is because they're kind of important to this discussion. And it was kind of funny for whatever principles they ever expressed on being a liberal, sort of social, kind of Japanese Christian Democrat type, is the way they always sort of position themselves. Obviously not Christian, they're a type of Buddhist, but positioning themselves as those kind of enlightened, socially aware, religious people. I won't say the C word, but it starts with CU and ends with T. Wordle people still might make a mistake. But they basically would always suck it up to stay in the coalition because they got the Ministry of Transport, the ministry which is basically the road and public works building ministry, which basically is a license to print money and to funnel it back towards your hometown and your home prefecture. And they would give that, which basically would allow them to send favors and power and rewards. It was basically in exchange for giving the LDP the votes and looking the other way at them running around like maniacs pretty much for 26 years. A supposedly moralistic, sort of ethics-based, socially liberal party has kind of let the LDP get away with pretty much everything but murder. So the idea that, they're not going to like Takaichi because she's very nationalistic and she's tough on China and they want to be friendly with China and she's, so was Abe, so was a bunch of other prime ministers. So, they might kick up a stink and they might use it to demand a couple of extra cabinet posts, but they're not going to actually walk out on the government because they don't because they're unhappy that a woman is elected the LDP party president. Surely. But Wednesday, I think it was, that is exactly what happened this week. Did I say something? Well, I didn't say, I didn't actually say murder. Otros Vidas, good to see you. Cult, I should say cult, kid friendly. What was that? What did I say that wasn't kid friendly? What else could it be? I don't know any other words. So, culprit. Perfect, Quid. Wow, we've got some great Wordle players in here. So anyway, Takaichi went to go meet with Komeito, to go meet with this party to go and negotiate how they were going to support her in the vote in the parliament on Wednesday for the prime minister. And they said, 1, we're not happy with your nationalism, and 2, we actually have noticed that she is already welcoming back into her proposed cabinet people who were kicked out of the entire LDP party less than a year ago for corruption, for the embezzlement scandal. You might remember we talked about last year how all these groups would do these sort of study groups that were basically ways that people would pay $500 a seat at these study groups, which were technically political donations that they were legally required to declare, but instead of that, they were just redirecting the funds into slush funds. And the main ringleaders who did that and who benefited by it, at least a significant number of them were sort of punished by not being allowed to run for the LDP again, as sort of their, at least for one time as their sort of punishment for, for basically breaking the, for literally embezzling political funds for slush funds, breaking the elections law. So, straight out money corruption. Takaichi ran a year ago against Ishiba, actually trying to attract their votes, saying that she's going to push back on forcing them to name themselves, and is not going to take any more punishments because everybody sort of did it. So we're gonna forgive everybody. So she ran on a pro-corruption platform against Ishiba, and Ishiba ran on a I hate everybody and everybody hates me, so I'm going to punish everybody because you're all corrupt assholes. Sorry, I will keep it kid friendly, but that was more or less what Ishiba's pitch was. It's kind of amazing that he got elected, but everyone who didn't take the money was so sort of worried that the government was about to be destroyed in the next election, unless they got someone who looked like they were tough on corruption. So they got Ishiba, hoping that putting Ishiba, holding him out in front of the party, would make them look more electable. And of course, what happened was they had an election and the LDP lost. Nobody was convinced that Ishiba being in charge meant that the LDP was now reformed. And so since that failed, and the first thing Takaichi said is she's going to reappoint all the people who were kicked out for corruption. And Komeito said, not cool, Sanae. Stop it. If you don't commit to actually keeping all those corrupt people that were kicked out of the party, we're not going to form a government with you. And here's an interesting thing. Takaichi, who you might know, she's already appointed Taro Aso, who's in charge of the biggest faction that backed her, that basically won her the election. She has made him the vice deputy prime minister, and I think she's made the party secretary, Taro Aso's brother-in-law. So basically, Taro Aso is in the background now running the party, and she's pretty much doing whatever he says, including letting all of his corrupt friends back in, including a guy called Hagiura, who was a particularly prominent LDP leader who was kicked out. And she sort of has already said that she's going to reappoint him to a prominent role in the government, which is basically a favor for Taro Aso for supporting her. And she's like, she said to Komeito when they said, as leader, we want you not to reappoint these corrupt people. And she said, I'm going to have to take it back and talk with my party about that. I can't approve that on my own. And they're like, you're the prime minister, you're the party president. If you can't make that decision right now to not appoint corrupt people, we're gone. And they walked out. They must have pre-planned this. But they decided to walk out, and they said that they were going to withdraw support for the LDP. Funny thing, because the LDP did so badly in that election, because of the corruption that made them lose all the seats, that put them in the predicament that they're in, the fact that LDP chose a pro-corruption new party president, who immediately went back to reappointing all of these people, to the point that even Komeito didn't want to be seen with them. The LDP needs Komeito because even though they got destroyed in the last election, Komeito, which, let's be honest, it is the Soka Gakkai religion, which is a type of nouveau evangelist Buddhist cult. I say cult softly. They're very nice people. There's like more than 10 million members, like roughly 1 in 10 people. If you ever meet 10 Japanese people, probably one of them is going to be in the party. And a lot more people have family members and so on in it. And like evangelical Christians, they're kind of annoying. You don't want to, you don't want to get recruited necessarily, but they try to recruit by being nice to people. And in that regard, they're very pro-internationalism. And this is where Komeito is theoretically, you're not allowed to have religious parties in Japan. So Komeito insists that they are like the artist formerly known as the Soka Gakkai religious group, but they're not actually that group. But in practice, they're actually implementing the agenda of the religion, which is to treat foreigners grey. So they don't like all this anti-foreigner stuff because, they want to recruit and they want to expand to their backing thing. Also, when they were doing the election, the Komeito would arrange for Soka Gakkai to get its members to go do electioneering for the LDP, and they wouldn't put up candidates against the LDP. So they would help the LDP run their campaigns. And they're going to lose all of that election machinery that they have. So it's kind of it's like a double blow. The fact that they're leaving because they're so corrupt, and they're withdrawing all of the sort of electioneering support that they've had. So what does all of this mean? I mentioned last week that winning the LDP internal party election, while that normally means that the leader of the LDP, just automatically, they're the biggest party in parliament, so they are going to be they're going to automatically be the prime minister. There still is the formality that they have to go into part. The reason that the LDP is the government is because they're the largest party and they have a coalition that's able to pass laws. And if you can pass a law, you just need a simple majority in both houses of the government. And if you can pass a law, you can appoint a prime minister. So who's ever in charge of the LDP and is working with the coalition partner, it's just a formality that they always appoint them as prime minister. However, with Komeito pulling out, no party, including the LDP, has enough votes to approve the prime minister. And what's going to happen is on Tuesday, tomorrow's a public holiday, so on Tuesday, Ishiba is going to formally resign, and on Wednesday, there's going to be an election in both houses of parliament for the new prime minister. And what usually happens is every party votes for their own leader first, and if they don't get 50%, they have a runoff between the top two, very much like the LDP leadership election. But the thing is, at the moment, Komeito is not clearly saying that they're going to, on the second round, normally in the first round, they would support the LDP member and it would just happen in one vote. They would get the 50%. But this time it's not going to happen in the first round. And everybody from all the opposition parties are coming up to them and saying, hey, why don't we pick somebody from the opposition and humiliate the LDP by appointing an opposition prime minister? Which, by the way, would be a complete disaster because they won't actually be able to do anything. They would be the prime minister, but they wouldn't obviously have a government and they wouldn't have enough seats. And honestly, the one thing that you can rely on more than the LDP to put everybody off with its corruption and horribleness is that the opposition is going to be too incompetent to take the chance that's being handed to them. And remember, the opposition in Japan is made up of parties that are both, center left, right, even to the right of the LDP. And on the left, for example, the Socialist Party still has that issue that they used to be the North Korean Workers' Party affiliate in Japan. Ironically, not the Communist Party, but the Communists want to kick out all the American bases and stuff. So, a lot of people didn't vote for the Democrats when they did electoral cooperation with the Communists, who you need to make up the numbers. And then you've got the Osaka Ishin Party that I've always sort of said actually has as many seats as Komeito does. And I've always been surprised that the LDP hasn't gone up and just offered them. I've always thought they were actually more compatible than Komeito anyway. The point with Komeito was they would always speak principles, but they never actually followed through on them if they got money and power and influence, which is what they wanted for their religious group. But now that they've actually pulled out, what fundamentally Ishinokai wants, the Osaka, We Love Osaka party, is they want Osaka to be the backup capital of Japan, of Tokyo, if Tokyo gets wiped out. Langley Esquire, he was talking about this morning, how there's a town north of Tokyo called Tsukuba, which is where there's a lot of science universities up there. And that was actually built as the evacuation sort of backup capital to Tokyo. Osaka, for some reason, wants to be officially, told that they're officially number two. They want to be like the guy in Austin Powers with the eye patch that everyone calls number two. And if you agree to do that, the problem is I think most of the politicians they don't want to go to Osaka. I think that's the problem. But if you just say that, okay, if Tokyo gets wiped out, which I suppose is going to happen at some point, then then we'll make Osaka the backup capital, and you've got their support. So we've got only like 2 or 3 days, and right now Takaichi does not have the votes to be prime minister, but neither does anyone else. The government's trying to find, the opposition is trying to find a single person that everyone would agree to vote for, just to humiliate the government. But any way that it goes, if Takaichi wins, it's going to be sort of a disaster, because she no longer has the numbers for a coalition. Everybody hates her. Just to be clear as well, a lot of people are saying, oh, Japan appoints a woman and now they find their principles and now they're pulling out because, they could tolerate all of these intolerable men. But the moment you get, and frankly, equally intolerable women, now you pull out of the coalition. But the issue that Komeito is citing is corruption and money politics. Although that said, they've been a loyal coalition partner through all the corruption that's happened in the last 26 years. I mean, the notion that they are a religious ethics based. I mean, it's like if you think about how many religious organizations, while claiming to be the center of the universe for morality, have kind of been shown to be kind of the opposite in various regards. Komeito is definitely not as bad as the Catholic Church, but at the same time, being quite happy to look the other way and enable bad behavior from many Japanese governments. So right now, some people are saying that Takaichi, it's not really clear if she's going to be able to get through. Saito, the leader of the Komeito party, is saying that if it goes through to a second round and push comes to shove, and they will support the government on individual sort of items. So they're not going to oppose them on everything. It's just they're not going to be a guaranteed coalition partner. They're going to decide themselves issue by issue. And he said that he personally thinks that if it does go to a runoff, Komeito should support the LDP prime minister, like they were just in coalition, but they're not going to support them by default like they traditionally would. So, we'll have to wait and see. But basically, Takaichi, and my take on how do we end up in this position? How did this happen to Takaichi and it didn't happen to Abe and other people who were more corrupt? And the answer is, pardon me, Abe was just as nationalist as Takaichi, and Komeito was very uncomfortable with Abe's nationalism, and they didn't like all the sort of money politics and stuff like that. And when they met, they said to Abe, we want you not to focus on nationalism and militarism and, being anti-foreigner. We just want you to, and he said, fine, I'm just going to focus on the economy then. And they said, okay. And this is the thing. While Abe rhetorically was very, very right-wing, and I've talked about this, he was very smart and very practical, and he really just focused on other things. It actually oversaw a huge increase in foreigners and women in government, and actually had quite a liberal track record, which is partly from Komeito saying, when they said, we're not going to support you if you do this, he said, fine, I'll change. Whereas when the same conversation happened with Takaichi, she said, oh, I've got to go back and ask permission to accept your suggestion. And that's sort of the difference. She didn't feel confident enough on her own to make a call, a common sense call, frankly, to do what was necessary to put a government together. Maybe she thought that she was going to be given the chance to go back and consult with Taro Aso. But Komeito had obviously predetermined that they were just going to walk out immediately if she did that. It's actually super interesting. It's gone from being a formality to all of a sudden everything's gone haywire, and no one knows what's going to happen, which makes it kind of interesting. Otras Vidas, I'm glad to hear that if you're a nice cult, then welcome to the chat. Good to have you in here. Jane Mott's talking about Theresa May. In fact, Theresa May is not the lettuce one. That was, I remember her. Yeah. I think it is different with Takaichi, because Takaichi, I don't like the Thatcher analogies, but the idea that Thatcher was someone who got through the Tories by being more Tory than the Tories is kind of the route that there are more liberal women in the LDP who are less traditional conservatives, but Takaichi went I'm going to out Oyaji all the Oyajis and climb the Oyaji pyramid and be top Oyaji. That was like her thing. But yes, anyway, let's look at the stories. I had to just jump straight into that. I've had some great conversations with people about this and seen a lot of great insight into it in the last day or two. But apparently, it was it came down to a single meeting where she just couldn't make a call in a room that probably Abe did make, and she couldn't make it, and she walked out, and the government fell apart. There is a risk here, remember, as well. LDP could form a party. They could bring in all the conservative parties like Sanseito, and they could actually go to the far right. Although I think for elections, that would be terrible. The fact that that Takaichi is also waving the flag of people like Hagiura, who were kicked out of the LDP for being too corrupt for the LDP, is really not going to do her very well in the election. So we'll see what happens. But interesting times indeed. Anyway, thanks everyone who joined in the session just now. Nearly 2 hours long, couple of mistakes and so on, but a lot of really good music as well. So that was a lot of fun. I just noticed the story today about Microsoft buying 100 megawatts of solar in Japan. All the big tech companies are buying lots of solar power and renewable energy because all these companies have renewable energy commitments that the power grid doesn't have enough renewable energy to give them. So they're paying to install all of this renewable power so that they can provide services that are not powered by coal. And this is something where I think they don't really get enough credit that there actually is a huge amount of innovation in renewables happening. No one wants to say, well, big tech companies are really lovely and they're really great at, improving the fight against climate change that everyone's kind of forgotten about. But they kind of are doing a good job. I need to blow my nose. Give me one moment. I'm going to turn. Pardon me. But yeah. So Japan, a lot of people, Rochelle Kopp included, are not happy with the way that a lot of mountains in Japan are being covered in, trees are being cut down, and these mountains are being covered with solar panels. More correctly, what's happening more often is it's not so much that they're cutting down forests to put solar farms over these mountains. What they're doing is they're taking all the bubble era gangster run golf courses that were constructed out of the mountains in a lot of places where it's much easier to install solar panels, where it's all like grass. And on top of the grass, these out of business golf courses are becoming huge solar farms. And a lot of people don't like them aesthetically. They reflect a lot of light. They disturb elderly people and so on. And they are blamed for increasing the rainfall that goes into the soil, which increases the risk of landslides and so on. Although that said, I mean, I've seen both sides on that argument. The golf courses were seemingly not causing that much in the way of extra landslides. It's really one of those things to me of people who claim to be for renewable energy, so long as it doesn't ruin their view. Like the Northeast, people in America and Connecticut or whatever who, support wind energy, but they don't want it ruining their ocean view of their yachts going outside. I've worked in this area for a long time. It's the most important, issue facing the planet. And until we have fusion reactors, and I'm okay with nuclear reactors as a solution for this, but until we have that, I'm quite happy to put renewable to put solar panels on golf courses. And I think that it's actually good that the money for that is coming from tech companies that are the ones who are using all the electricity. Apparently, like when the sun hits them at a certain angle, like they normally look black, but when the sun like bounces off them, apparently they cause, light disturbance and, birds crash into them. I think that's, my sound is not okay, says Shiv Lal. Is my sound not okay? I turned it off briefly to blow my nose, but, yeah, hopefully that's okay. Anyway, so 26 years, which is actually, now that I think about it, I think the coalition started just after I got to Japan. So Komeito and Sanae Takaichi have been together as long as Japan and I have been together. So a lot of stories talking about that. The fact that Komeito pretty much forgave them for everything except, superficially, they forgave them for everything except a woman. It is also, and I pointed out as well, there have been so many opportunities. There's been the Socialist Party that's almost had exclusively women representatives, and they didn't appoint a woman as their choice of prime minister when Murayama came in. The CDP, the Democrats had 3 prime ministers, and none of them were women, even though they had women leaders in the party. And in fact, they had fewer women even in the LDP, if I remember correctly. So on the one hand, everyone sort of gives the LDP a hard time, but the left is actually, less enlightened. But like I say, the opposition is scrambling to find somebody that they can actually put up and get everyone agreed to vote for, just to humiliate the government and Takaichi, who could actually defeat Takaichi in a leadership election. If that's going to happen, there are some people saying that the LDP might just decide to have Ishiba not resign and just continue, where Takaichi is the president of the LDP and Ishiba continues, so that they don't have a vote, which they might lose. So trying to make that happen is the leader of the Constitutional Democrat Party, which who Noda, who was also prime minister for a time after Naoto Kan, was not as bad as Naoto Kan, but basically ran the government like he was auditioning to be an LDP prime minister. So no one's going to vote for him. Some people are suggesting that they will put Tamaki. Tamaki, by the way, is just a funny name. Tamaki literally means ball tree. Um, the characters that he uses, but it's also the Maori name for Auckland. I went to school in Tamaki Makaurau in New Zealand, so when I hear Tamaki, it's kind of cool. There's a couple of sort of charismatic, willing to do anything, would sell their own grandmother to become prime minister. Tamaki is the main person like that, no substance whatsoever, just a suntan, a kind of amusing infidelity scandal. In fact, I actually saw something on whether everyone's talking about he might be the opposition candidate. Some people are saying they might even put up the leader. Everyone might back the leader of Komeito against the LDP leader just to get someone to take her down. But the main candidate that it looks like the opposition is going to try to get everyone to vote for is this guy from another Democrat. They split off the Democratic Party for the People. They split off from the Democrats because they disagreed with the policy of not having Tamaki as leader of the party and next prime minister. There's no ideological difference that really matters other than he just wanted to skip the queue and become prime minister, so he split off himself. He's got a good suntan. He's a little bit tainted by a sex scandal that I forget even the story. It's like there was an election campaigner who was like a Miss, I don't know, Miss Fukui Prefecture or something like that. And she's quite good looking. And so I saw something on Nietzsche where people say, everyone's saying that Tamaki is not fit to be prime minister because of a sex scandal. But look at her. He didn't have a choice. Japan's not exactly France when it comes to sex scandals. Where you need to have a sex scandal to be taken seriously and be credible as a candidate. But it's not exactly America either, where, it's not puritanical about it. It's a little bit confusing, frankly. So we're going to find out anyway. But yes, Takaichi, more like Shuichi. Waka waka. I like the Fozzie Bear reference. Thank you. But Dan H, good to see you. Almost missed the show. I'm sorry, I set it up late, so you might not have gotten the notification. I'm glad that you joined, however. Good to have you in here. Oh, just to add even more shit to this whole situation for Takaichi and the LDP. Week after this week is the election of the new of the new prime minister. We're going to know who the prime minister is. And it could be Fozzie. It could literally be Fozzie Bear for all that we know at the moment. Next week, I think it's next week, Trump is coming to Japan and is going to meet with whoever the hell is prime minister at that time. And no one knows, everyone presumed that was going to be Takaichi. Trump has already sent congratulations to I think every time someone says that they're far, literally like Vance endorsing AFD and so on, like every far right, group, they go endorse her. As soon as they heard that Takaichi, everyone hates her because she's an extreme right winger, they already sent her congratulations on being prime minister, but she might not make it. So, yeah, we've got that. Dan H, can I send you photos of the upcoming sumo tournament held in London? Wow, I didn't even know that they were doing that. That's super cool. Got front row tickets to the opening, the final day of the tournament. Wow, 8,100 per ticket. Versus how does it? I don't even know how much it costs for those front rows. As far as I know, in Japan, those front row seats, you don't even buy those. You get invited to those. Like the Sumo Kyokai controls those, and you've probably got to like donate like a building, a mountain, and a sex scandal in order to get one of those booths. I think the most, I don't know the pricing for the top tier. It might go up actually higher than that but the thing is the you pay for 4-seat areas at the sumo. I haven't been in years, but that is really, really great. Congratulations on that. So, but yeah, 81,000 per ticket. I don't know how that works exactly. Like I don't know how much that would be. That sounds probably more expensive than at Ryogoku anyway, where the main sumo stadium in Tokyo. That's super cool. I'd love to see the pictures. That's really, really cool. Ultras Venus, that is absolutely correct. The president's going to meet with whoever's the prime minister at the time. I've suggested that Japan create some sort of waifu pillow solution to the whole problem. I don't know, get some sort of Hatsune Miku virtual character to be the Japanese prime minister to meet. It would be a great photo opportunity, at least. Yeah, so it really is a complete mess. I mean, it's always a complete mess, but yeah. Anyway, more stuff happening. Sora 2 came out this week, and you can only access it in Canada and America, but it looks really, really cool. I mean, hell, I'm going to play with it. No, I have been thinking if, I mean, if you can create like DJ battle, like really cool clips, like the way that DJ Sunny Side Up and I make thumbnails at the moment, like having two bananas, like battling, DJ battling each other. Well, if we could use Sora 2 to make the clips for the background for the music during the Mash battle, like I'd be straight into that. I've seen all of these outrage blogs pointing out that people are doing SpongeBob and basically using IP properties already to generate all of these videos. And yeah, I mean, as a lawyer, the lawyer part of me says technically, yeah, that's illegal. Shouldn't do, they shouldn't be, the fact that OpenAI offered it. I actually, by the way, I actually know several of the lawyers. I think when they make a movie about the Sam Altman drama at OpenAI, the guy who is the legal counsel, the general counsel of OpenAI, he's the same level. I used to work with that guy. I know he's like me. I mean, it's kind of crazy, and he's going to be in this movie, or someone's going to be playing him, and we're already sort of taking bets on who's going to play the character of him. Um, they're very smart people in the legal department at OpenAI. I have no idea if they were maybe passing around hallucinogenic drugs when they decided that it would just be okay to email Disney and say, hey, if you don't want AI videos of people putting themselves into whatever fantasy they can imagine with Mickey Mouse, you can just come over and opt out, and we'll take it out. I was yeah, that's not how copyright works. That's like, yeah, I'm gonna rip off all of your stuff, but if you come onto my website and click, and opt out, then we'll start ripping you off. I don't recall the Napster using that as a defense. So, which kind of hallucinogenic drugs? Well, this is the thing. I'll have whatever they're having because they came up with some hilarious and wonderful. How did they think they were ever going to get away with this legal solutions to this? But that said, I mean, I've seen Mr. Beast is anxious about Sora taking his watch time. Other creators are worried about more than that. I'm not worried. I want to use it. It's cool. I mean, it's just another extension of using AI to help you make stuff. Possibly breaking the law in the process, but let's blame OpenAI for that. I want to play with it, certainly. But yeah. Sam Altman's comment about, in particular, we'd like to acknowledge the remarkable creative output of Japan. Yeah, they've processed all of it. We are struck by how deep the connection between users and Japanese content is. Well, given that it's all basically memes, yeah. I mean, it's like the burglar acknowledging the look at the fine craftsmanship on the stereo that I'm lifting out of the house. But there you go. Yes, it's good that he appreciates it. Oh, I'm gonna blow my nose again. There we go. Sorry about that. I always get a bit allergic in September, in basically autumn. I don't get allergies in spring, but I get a little bit allergic. Well, this is the first time today. Maybe it's just getting colder. I don't know. But anyway, what else we got going on here? Yeah. Again, the description which I pretty much just gave you at the start of this, of how the breakup of the coalition means it's no longer clear that Takaichi is going to become prime minister and how she's going to become it. Truth is, this guy Saito, the head of the Komeito party, he's always now all of a sudden everyone wants to know what are you going to do, how are you going to vote, and he's kind of hinting that at least in the second round he's probably going to come around and vote for the LDP candidate. But everyone's trying to persuade him to help the opposition get somebody in there. Quint Rankin, maybe I do need an air cleaner. I've got the aircon on at the moment. I had the filter going earlier. I probably just need to clean my aircon. That could be it. But yeah. And certainly there are all sorts of possibilities. I actually, when I was talking with, I've talked with some people who make like AI graphic and visual stuff. And apparently, this is not backed up, and this certainly isn't anything I've learned in connections with work or anything like that. This is something that I've heard from a guy who's making some very cool graphic AI apps, and was showing me, and he sort of pointed out that yeah, the data sets apparently they use a lot of if you use, how can I put this? If you use music or whatever, for training your AI and it outputs music, you're going to get sued if you use that content. But there's a lot of unattributed adult content on the internet with for a lot of images on how to create, detailed anatomically correct people, at least to the extent that adult movie stars are anatomically correct. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff which you have a low risk associated with, and it sort of is floating around everywhere. So basically, and I don't know if that has anything to do with why they couldn't do hands properly or something, but yeah, apparently a lot of the original AI graphics models were trained on adult content. So that's actually sort of coming back to where it started. Yeah, Mount Fuji. Now, apparently less, asshole is probably a harsh term, but there's a big idiot filter, for all the people who, so many people, so many foreigners I know who have I mean, hell, when I climbed Mount Fuji, it was literally with some co-workers where we were in the middle of summer, it was like July, we're out for drinks on a Friday night. Three guys mentioned they were going to climb Mount Fuji tomorrow, and one by one, the other 40 guys said, I'm going to come with you. With foreigners, of course, we wouldn't wait until the next day. So many foreigners just decide on a whim to go down to Mount. Hey, what are we going to do today? Well, we can go drink in Roppongi again, or why don't we go in our shorts and go and climb Mount Fuji? It's hot, so it must be fine up there. And they go up there and they freeze to death, or they get lost, or they fall off the mountain. And there's a lot of people who need rescues and who die on Mount Fuji every year. And it's kind of funny how now I believe both Shizuoka and Yamanashi have put these gates, and they've put entry fees for going to Mount Fuji to be able to go and climb. And apparently, yeah, it's resulting in fewer idiots going up the mountain. And I point out within Tokyo, if you want to go to a nice park in Tokyo, everyone talks about Yoyogi Park. It's like the famous big free park. But because Tokyo has 35 million people, all the grass in the park is dead from being trampled on by too many people all the time. It's basically mud with plastic, green plastic in it to try to hold the grass in place. So and it's full of jugglers and hippies and mud, and it's like a mild version of Woodstock, I suppose, but it's a crappy park, basically, with foreigners sort of drinking, and I don't know, it's not a nice park. Shinjuku Goen is just as big as Yogi Park. It is 100 times nicer, and the reason it's nicer is that you have to pay 200 yen to get in. And basically, it means that the sort of person who would refuse to pay 200 yen to go in a park never goes in there. And as a result, the park is so much better than Yogi Park. Like, I pay 200 yen to go into the park to not be in the crappy park with all the people who would refuse to pay 200 yen for a nice park. And I think they're doing the same thing with Mount Fuji. And apparently it's having positive results. So good for Mount Fuji. Another big conversation that we had with Bio McNeil and Rochelle Kopp and everyone yesterday, it was kind of funny. We talked about the secondhand embarrassment and shame we feel for tourists and foreigners coming here and being obnoxious, standing the wrong way on the train carriage with their backpack on and facing the wrong way and blocking people, or piling their suitcases by an entrance and stuff like that. And Rochelle told me she'll actually walk up to foreigners and police them and say, hey, you shouldn't be doing that, or you should send why wouldn't you send your luggage on the luggage delivery service and stuff like that. People talking about how, yeah, you're making the team look bad, like stop acting like assholes. I pointed out the thing about, especially for tourists, is Japan has so many rules, and it takes years even for Japanese to learn them, usually through harsh punishment. So how are tourists really supposed to know these anyway? So I sort of think you have to sort of, it's kind of impossible to expect them to know all the etiquette. Although that said, there's also tons of information available. Like, tourists are actually figuring things out. Like, I think tourists nowadays, I find recent arrivals to Tokyo figure out all of the Wi-Fi, the luggage delivery, everything better than I know how to do, actually. And not to mention that with the translation tools, they can even read the izakaya menus better than I can. So I think tourists are rapidly getting very savvy and smart about these things. But as we were talking about sort of bad behavior, another big topic was there were some people who live in Kyoto and places like that. And we're talking about over tourism, and Rochelle suggested, the real solution is we need to spread all the tourists out more around Japan. There's so many great places that foreigners aren't going to. And I raised the counterpoint that no, I would prefer all the foreigners, all the foreign tourists who cause the hotels to become go from 8,000 yen a night to 50,000 yen per night. Um, let's just cram them all into Kyoto and Asakusa and Takeshita Dori and Harajuku, and leave the other places that are nice where we can go to them and not have to pay foreign rates or deal with crowds. And one example of that is Shimoda. Shimoda is one of my favorite places in Japan. And I want you all now to forget that fact and don't tell anybody about it, and don't let the place get overrun with foreign tourists, because I still want to go there and I want to be able to afford it when I go there. It is a very nice place. It is one of my favorite places in Japan. I'll let all of you guys watching go if you don't tell anybody else. Okay. So yeah, Gaijinpot did a feature on Shimoda. It is very, very cool. Self-storage. We talked about the self-storage luggage options and so on, and it was very nice talking with everyone. It's funny, this person at Gaijinpot, they did a list of all the things that foreigners are getting blamed for lately. Ultras Vidas, you're spelling it wrong. It's Kyoto, Shimoda. That's how you write it. You should spell it the correct traditional Japanese way. Yogi Park, it is there. Well, I mean, the whole east side of Tokyo doesn't even have parks. So from that perspective, it is certainly better than nothing. But yeah, as parks go, you can't really sit down on the grass or whatever. You can roll around in lush, comfortable grass all over Shinjuku Gyoen. It's really nice. But anyway, I thought this was a good summary of all the way things that foreigners in certain parts of the media and so on are being blamed for things, and certainly now the backlash where political parties saying we should limit the number of foreigners who are allowed to live in each town in Japan and ridiculous stuff like that. So the first one, yeah, certainly the idea that the rice shortages were not due to mismanagement of the rice distribution system by giving sole source contracts to corrupt contractors that were hoarding the rice and not distributing it, resulting in price increases and supply shortages. It's that foreign tourists were eating all of the rice, and that's what caused the prices to double in less than a year. And every news article was just following the Ministry of Agriculture that was saying, oh no, it wasn't us giving our friends contracts, which they basically took advantage of everybody. It's the foreigners eating all the rice. So that was certainly some BS, and they got that. A lot of people say that foreigners, and for this they're really targeting the Japanese-born Korean residents for this, saying that they get all the social welfare and handouts, which we do not. I mean, residents are entitled to benefits. I mean, if you've got a foreigner who's married to a Japanese and they have a half Japanese kid, and they get unemployment benefits and so on, just like any normal resident or whatever. But we I think we pull less in terms of benefits against the proportion of the population we are. But then when someone corrects them and says that, people are saying ridiculous stats like 30% of social welfare goes to foreigners, and someone says no, it's less than 0.3%, and then they respond, well, there should be zero. Why they shouldn't ever be getting any, which just shows that they're switching their brains off and not thinking about it. Dan H, have you heard about the new tax? They're putting it in place primarily for expensive hotels. I'm not paying an extra 10,000 yen a night for those luxury hotels. It's going to turn people away. That's interesting. I haven't heard about that. I've heard people talking about having a dual pricing system, but I think this isn't that. Fact is, those hotels, like the nice hotels, have gone from being, in general, for a nice hotel, 30,000 yen a night. They're now like 90,000 yen a night. Even the business hotels, they were like 10,000 yen or 9,000 yen, and now like 30,000 yen. So honestly, if they put a levy on, and that levy is used for tourist management, the problem here is that as a local Japan resident, it's outrageous to increase the prices of hotels by another 10,000 yen. But the problem is that Americans can afford it. So we're sort of getting priced out of where we live at the moment. That's for Kyoto. Okay, so the local auditors. I've heard about this. The egg sandwich shortages. That would be. It's kind of crazy how. Oh God, what's his name? The traveling chef guy who raved about the sandwiches, and then that became a whole thing. Foreign tourists are ruining Japan. They're really bringing a lot of money in. I mean, and they're sticking to a few very narrow areas, which I avoid. So I'm kind of okay with that. Foreigners are causing all the crime. There's always something that said it's actually crime is going down, and foreigners again contribute far less than per capita. We are less likely to do crime, and this is actually the same in a lot of places. But it's always easier to blame the foreigners for things. So, kind of the same stuff as everywhere. It's unfortunate that it is getting traction here. This is an interesting one. So, apparently 80 years too late, Toto, the toilet maker, has put out a public notice asking that when people use the Japanese squat toilet, maybe we can get a better view of the image. Maybe I have to click on this. So this is a Japanese squat toilet. In fact, oh God, go away, close. I saw a perfect image of the toilet and then it disappeared. Okay, let's zoom out. Toto, the famous futuristic toilet maker. Japan, when I got to Japan, probably still more than 50% of toilets were squat toilets like this. You literally put your legs on either side of this, facing this thing, and you squat down and you poop here, and then you pull down on the lever to flush, and it goes. But you have to be holding the squat the whole time that you're pooping. This is pre-smartphone period that it was these things were everywhere. And I would have the problem that, 30 seconds squatting, I would lose circulation in my legs and start to fall over, and you can't see where you're pooping. So you don't know for sure because you've got no contact with the surface. You're squatting, hovering over it. So it was always a disaster. I made a video telling a story about my first ever encounter where I managed to avoid these things until I couldn't because I had an emergency. But yeah, this thing with this handle here, Toto has put out a thing saying, please, everybody, the handle here for flushing is that you're supposed to use your hand. Apparently, everybody is using their feet. And you see where the feet are? Anything that misses or gets outside of the capture area is gonna, you're gonna stand on with your feet. So even the Japanese commenters on the 2chan forum talking about this, a lot of people are surprised. I saw a foreigner say, I've been using a squat toilet for 40 years and I've never used my hand to flush. Apparently everybody just kicks the handle to flush. And they presume that they have to because they presume other people are using their feet and hence the handle is covered in shit. So yeah, this is the horror story that is old-fashioned washiki toilets. I do like it's like mobile phones. It's like Japan went from having no telecommunications to having high-tech mobile phones or whatever. Japan definitely skipped the medium stage of normal toilets that we have back in New Zealand and Australia and so on, and going from this to toilets that will wash, dry, massage, deodorize you. I mean, they do everything. Modern Japanese toilets are amazing, but the old ones are a nightmare. And yeah, apparently people are surprised. Who here in the comments has used Japanese squat toilets? And did you use your hand or did you use your feet to flush? I tell you, in my whole 26 years in Japan, I have used squat toilets probably less than 10 times. And I wasn't happy about it, but I definitely used to me, it looks like a handle you're supposed to press with your hand, but now finding out that everybody is wiping their shit-covered shoes on the handle makes me slightly uncomfortable. So there we go. Atomic Tom, great to have you in here. I have heard this as well, that it's a healthier position for emitting. It's the way in which for humans, for most of our million years on Earth, for 99.99999%, everybody would literally go into the woods and squat and crap. And so, being on a royal throne like we are now is less healthy, and it's not what we're designed for. But we can't go back. You can't go back. It's like the three seashells. Geeko, great to see you. You've only seen the new ones. You are lucky, Geeko. You are lucky. The memory still haunts me, says Eddie. Man, I've used them. The first time I tried squatting and I couldn't. The circulation of my legs would cut off. So the first time I ever did this, I actually faced the opposite way, held onto the door and leaned back, holding onto the door handle, trying to aim with a trajectory to have what was explosive diarrhea go into the thing. It was a bad experience. And Unrested, he animated, he did a picture story of me telling that. It's on my YouTube channel. So yeah, we're coming up on time. Let's just see what else is here. It's a public holiday tomorrow, so I'm going to DJ a little bit, but the main one was definitely Takaichi. Um, so a lot of people also, I've noticed online as well. Oh, it's another thing I talked about last night. How, a lot of people say, well, I'd really like a woman or a minority or whatever, to come in and become a leader, and represent me. And then someone who they really dislike their ideology actually gets the job. Takaichi gets the job, and they're, oh, I didn't want her. I remember in my politics degree, in my tutorials, literally people saying that Margaret Thatcher doesn't count as a woman. I was like, no, you don't. They don't parachute in from Disneyland, being the perfect sort of cartoon princess that you wanted. These are people who are successful within the systems that have led to everybody getting through being men until now. And I think that she actually, Takaichi deserves some recognition for making it through that gauntlet. The fact that she gets through and people say, well, you're not really feminine enough for me, I think is incredibly hypocritical, especially when it comes from feminists who, in the end of the day, just don't like you ideologically. But yeah, thank you to Kobros Tenshi, who sent me this. This is an Australian comedian. They use the C word a lot. It's Australian, but they do an honest government ad. They make fun of governments, where they do it as an infomercial from different governments, and they did a New Zealand version, and it is both funny and ripping. But what impressed me is Aussies when they do it's Australians doing New Zealand accents it's like Americans doing Canadian accents. They sort of say, oh, tell me about what you want, about, oh, I'm sorry, like they do these embarrassing. They take the characteristics that they know about Canada and they wildly exaggerate it to the point it's not even relevant anymore. And they just do these sort of cringy, embarrassing. This is what Aussies do. Aussies can't copy our accent. They can't pronounce I the way that we. I can pronounce Australian. I mean, I can speak with an. I grew up in Australia anyway, so I can speak with an Aussie accent. But Aussies who can really nail a Kiwi accent is really rare. She says "cunt" repeatedly with a perfect New Zealand accent. It's really, it's really. I was genuinely impressed. The place names and the Maori names and the way she said the letter I was perfect. I mean, I almost think maybe she's actually a New Zealander who's lived in Australia for way too long and speaks like one of those squat toilets. She, her, you know, her level of refinement is about the same as this, but it was funny, so that was pretty cool. And big congrats again to DJ Sunny Side Up on winning the Mash Battle this week. Hey, there we go. It's another one. So I am going to go and do an after party now that I have set up. The after party, unlike the pre-party, I pick all the tracks. I got through all of my new tracks. I had some mild disasters, including disconnecting the power to my desk. Whoa! By doing that, when the desk went up, it pulled out the power cord. That wasn't good. That was a new type of technical issue. I kind of am proud of how I'm continuing to find new ways to innovate technical issues throughout my streams. So I've done that one for today, but the after party, you guys get to pick the music. So bring your suggestions, and I might pick one of them. It's my turn to pick the Mash Battle track this week, which I've got to win. So help me pick a good track. Bring your suggestions. The link is down there. Aaron has it. Remember to like the video because I do not monetize these videos. I literally just do it for the validation of having people acknowledge it. So that would be great. And I'll see you over on Tokyo Digital Crew very shortly. No, not really. I do mark that this content is not for children. But yeah, they'll only demonetize you if you say the C word in the first 10 seconds of the video. But after that, you can pretty much get away with anything. So yes. I would only wish to imagine how the Japanese on the internet would react to a bald, what's wrong with bald? Half Korean, half Chinese, but Japanese born female and lesbian become. I mean, I know that you're putting all of this together to be outrageous day and age, but there are a lot of like half Koreans and Taiwanese who are like far right in Japan and women. And, you're not actually, that's not an unrealistic scenario. I mean, a half bald woman. But there are members in parliament with Chinese ancestry who are like nationalist Japanese. So anyway, we're going to go do an after party. So come and join me. Thank you for keeping me company. It's going to be super interesting next week, finding out what happens with the Prime Minister. So stay tuned for that. Hope you found that interesting, me explaining what was going on with that. And we'll see if the rest of the world gets through the week as well. It's touch and go at the moment. But anyway, thank you for keeping me company. Have a good week, everybody. And boom, peace. Any string.